Some giant moves happening right now with Tesla. First, there could be some good news and bad news coming out of China. Reports are suggesting that FSD in China might be delayed as they hold it for negotiations with the US government. On the other hand, the Chinese government is making a big push on expanding energy storage. This is good news for Tesla. We'll go in depth for both of these stories. Second, Elon Musk just announced that Grok 3 will be released tonight in a live demo. He's saying Grok will be the smartest AI on Earth, and it'll be integrated into our Tesla vehicles soon. He's also saying that no one will be able to catch up again to Grok anymore. What will this do to the cars and Optimus? Third, the latest versions of full self-driving for both AI3 and AI4 cars are now going wide release. Plus, we have the first video of the new Model Y with FSD. Let's see how it did. Finally, there's been a number of announcements for competitors in the humanoid bot space. Jeff Lutz is a multi-decade supply chain executive and chief quality officer. He's now CEO of his own high-tech manufacturing consulting firm. Welcome, Jeff.
Hey, Herbert. Happy President's Day to those who celebrate in the U.S. And yeah, lots to talk about here. There's a lot of really important topics.
These first two, it's interesting because you and I have actually been predicting that this was about to happen. And now we're starting to see reports that it is happening. The first one is, it says here, Tesla braces for delay to China license as Trump trade tensions mount. The Chinese authorities apparently are weighing approval as a bargaining chip in trade negotiation with the US. So has the Chinese government delayed the approval for Tesla to do FSD in China? And, that's very likely is what's happening. We'll see, because China and US are having a trade war, and they need, or beginning that, the volleys are going back and forth, and they want to talk about where does it all end. So this is important for Tesla, of course, to get into China. This is what Elon said at the earnings call. He said they won't currently allow us to transfer training video outside of China, and then the US government won't let us do training in China. It's a bit of a quandary, he said. So before I go through the rest of the article here, Jeff, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of the article that, we can vouch for that's true, is what Elon said on the earnings call. Everything else, I think, is, it's unnamed sources, or it's whomever. I think I would be very careful in couching anything as a delay, or anything even being on time or ahead of plan just based on these articles. I think people need to understand, first off, this could be true, and there's certainly logic that would enable it to be true. But on the other side of this, any article right now that has the words Musk, Tesla, SpaceX, and any hint of negativity drives the maximum amount of clicks and the maximum amount of reading of content. It literally maybe on Earth right now. So just understand that and keep that in mind. So there could be some truth to this, but there's also an entire industry that's driven on clicks to do this kind of stuff. I think, what Tesla is doing is Tesla's trying to, come up with a creative solution for China. But also, I mean, I would not look past the meeting with Modi in Washington. And that was an Elon private meeting, company meeting. I think the media wanted to just immediately conflate this to this work he's doing with the US government. Elon's met with Modi at his factories at least a couple of times. He's met with him at other venues as well. This is maybe the third or fourth time he's met with Modi. So the media is a bit out of control on this topic. But for Tesla, it's a really important negotiating tool between India and China. India and China are very competitive. The EV space is very competitive. The autonomy and AI space are competitive. The space race is competitive. All this is, and a lot of this flows through Elon and his company. So if I'm Tesla, I'm going to keep the media impressions very high, and keep the Elon Modi conversation out there very high. Who knows? They could come up with a deal here pretty quickly, because right now India's traditionally been about, you've got to set up manufacturing. Not only do you have to set up, system level manufacturing, but you have to build out the entire supply chain. And then they have all the import restrictions on top of that. So they could do so. I don't want to just do pure conjecture, but they could do something that would allow a lot of Tesla vehicles to come in on import, either free of duty or very small duty, and they could, allow some sort of deal like that to happen that could put pressure back onto China. A number of things could happen, and I think again the trade tensions are also at a U.S. government level in India. They're ratcheting up a bit. They've been a good trading partner, and they've been a partner that we've more freely traded with over the past. But obviously, as you look at the inequities in terms of export import, that weighs on this current president. So I see it an India-China balance, and kind of using those both as leverage to really get progress in India. I think Tesla wants to enter India. They want to do it profitably. They want to enable access to electric vehicles. They want to enable access to their autonomous solutions. And obviously China wants it. China wants the export business. China wants the domestic manufacturing business as well. So Tesla's in a good place for both of these. In terms of, is the CCP, are they using Tesla as a trade bargaining chip? I mean, it's one of the possible outcomes, but I don't know. It's not like that's, to me. I read that article. I'm like, okay. Someone wrote, you could literally piece together that this could be a possible scenario, but there's no real information that says that's 100% what's happening. There's nothing there that's, you can really put your stamp on and say, yeah, it's happening. Is a likely scenario? Sure. It's also, Tesla and Elon are in a very good position as well to really leverage India and China together.
Yeah, you're right. So if you look at the article, they back down pretty quickly. They go, the approval could still come soon, depending on how trade negotiations develop, one of the people added. But another said that some people at the company believe that speedy consent was unlikely unless there was a major breakthrough or concession in trade talks. So, and then the Ministry of Industry and Information Tech in China, which regulates smart vehicles in China, Tesla US and Tesla China, and Musk did not respond to requests for comment. None of them responded. So yeah, it's a nothing burger at this point, but it makes sense that, so tell me a little bit about more how, Elon's bet of the ages is partnering with the government of US, and there's going to be pros and cons out of this. I think at the end of the day, this will turn out to be pro. It's going to be a good thing. You can see that China wants things and Tesla and the US want things, and they're probably just going to find a way to make everybody happy. That's more likely than the opposite of, just saying no. And then Tesla is now not able to do this. But there's certainly that tension right now. And I think that they'll probably resolve it. What's your thinking about how you see it happening?
Well, I think the media is trying to inextricably link Elon and his companies to the government. And Elon is working on his own accord in terms of the work he's doing with the government. Yes, but I think they're really racing. They're looking at contracts, even multi-bid contracts, all the, that Tesla or SpaceX have won, and they're looking at them and they're conflating them as like, a government subsidy or something. And it's really ridiculous. It's really misleading in terms of what's really happening. But I would say is, in terms of forward-looking technology, and the most recent and the most consequential tech is, quite frankly, it's AI and it's autonomy. And a lot of it flows through the work that, in terms of real world AI, Jensen Huang says Elon Musk is the leader of this. Yeah. So if that's the end game, if you look at NVIDIA's presentation, that is the end game of getting AI into the real physical world. You've got to work with, and you've got to make deals with the leader of that. And then for these governments, that's Elon, that's his vehicles, vehicular autonomy, and eventually humanoid robots. We'll talk more about this later, but you're just going to see a flurry of rhetoric and conversation around. We really got to be able to sort through who can do what. But yeah, they're both going to leverage themselves off of each other. India, China, Tesla's going to do that. Elon's going to do that. But this is for his personal companies. This is not. He doesn't make decisions for the government. He makes recommendations for the government. So I just think there's a lot of confusion out there. But for Tesla, India would want a market leader like Tesla in India. They would want them bringing up the supply chain, bringing up the system level manufacturing, and then that could be kind of a blueprint for them if they want to do more of their own products. They have their own products, but if they want to do more and more of their own products and then eventually become an exporter of it and a major exporter of vehicles, they know they would need a market leader like Tesla, and they want to be on the precipice of AI and vehicular autonomy. So
yeah, what you're saying is that China, if China does clamp down, then Tesla will work with India, and then all of a sudden China has a major competitor. They don't want that to happen. And right now, China is succeeding. If you look at what happened with the EV market, it's worked out perfectly for them. Tesla is a big leader in China, but so now you've got 10s and 20 different kind of Chinese car companies that are making electric vehicles, beating all the European and American brands. It's worked out great for them. So I think at the end of the day, they'll want FSD there, they'll want robots there, and then their companies can learn from that and grow too. So right now, do you agree with me? China needs Tesla more than Tesla needs China? Or do you think that it's now, yeah?
I think it's fairly in China. I think for tech companies, Elon's companies are in the top tier of what China would want to work with. There's no question about it.
Okay. So the next one is possibly good news for Tesla. Apparently, the Chinese government has news that they announced that they have big plans for energy storage. They want to dominate energy storage by 2027. And this guy's saying it's a huge opportunity has opened up for Tesla Energy in China after Megapack factory Shanghai started production. 8 government departments in China, led by the Ministry of Industry and Information Tech, are pushing a new action plan to make China a global leader in the field by 2027. They envision a thriving industry packed with innovative companies and cutting-edge tech. Not just growth, but smart growth. Think high-quality, green, intelligent energy solutions. China wants to build 3 to 5 powerhouse companies that will lead the charge, creating a robust ecosystem of suppliers and manufacturers. They're also focused on making sure their supply chain is strong and reliable. And the plan is diversifying energy storage technologies. While lithium batteries are getting an upgrade, it's also investing in sodium batteries, flow batteries, and even long duration storage like compressed air and hydrogen. They're not just improving existing tech, they're betting on future breakthroughs in energy storage, smart batteries. This comes from Finance China News. This just shows you that this is, just translated from this news article. So, whenever China does this, they pick like they did with robotics, and they said we're going to be the leader. They put money behind it, and they support not only those companies but the supply chain behind it, and they give them incentives and money, and they truly try to support them. So, this could be good news for Tesla.
Yeah, and only recently as the U.S. started really getting serious about investing in various categories in manufacturing. But this follows the template of EV. This follows the template and the investments of what they did in smartphone and batteries for the last 2 decades. So I'm not surprised to see this. I think there is truth to this, and it would follow the same template of, okay, you bring in, first off, they're already leaders in exporting battery cells for stationary energy. So they're already leaders in that. What's used in the Tesla Megapacks in California are, cattle LFP cells. BYD is also doing a lot of exporting of their LFP and their blade solutions. So they're leaders in it, and they got multiple cell companies, Goshen, multiple companies. The other countries right now are just starting their work to bring up their own LFP solutions. And so what's happening with trade right now, this is going to be a hot topic. And on the one hand, they want to be a big net exporter of these battery solutions, and they want to get into the brain. They want to get into the control side of these stationary storage solutions and not just doing the cell and not just being a cell supplier. So they want to move upstream. This is very typical of how China operates. And it's not, I totally believe it. I just think right now we're in a very tenuous situation where they're fine exporting LFP, but I think a lot of countries are going to want to bring up their own, and they're going to want to shut that down and shut down dumping of it. And then they could also quickly flip the switch on that and turn it into an export control, where they actually put export controls on LFP and some of the original LFP IP. So this is a very important space to watch. This is one of the reasons that Tesla is not just doing a cut and paste of Cattle's solution in the US, I believe. And this is one of the reasons they went out and did a lot of their own IP. Number one, you can't just take China's IP, bring it over to the United States and bring it up with our utility rates, with our overhead rates, with our people. The cost structure is going to go through the roof. So you got to take, if you are going to work with them or you're going to use some of their tech or some of their CapEx to bring it, it's same for them. If to bring it over to a Western country, you have to take the cost structure down significantly for it to be something profitable. So that's what Tesla is doing. So I'm most interested in all this. So I believe China is doing this, but I'm most interested in what is Tesla doing to bring up their own domestic solution for this lower tier battery.
This is one of the things you and I were discussing last week. I was proposing that I was predicting, and I will see what happens, that Tesla will announce another megapack factory in China because they're going to give something to China. They want more energy storage. We'll build one there. I've already built Shanghai. Yes, it's double the size of Lathrop. I'm going to create you another one there. In exchange, let us have FSD.
Yeah, they could put 5 there and it wouldn't even be a pinprick in China. So it's not they can put them all over the place. I agree.
Okay, so good news and bad news. We'll follow these stories. Thank you for your analysis, Jeff. This is one of the most important things happening for Tesla right now. Another one is Grok. Grok is the way that we're going to communicate to the bots. The way we're going to communicate to the cars. And Elon is now saying that Grok 3 is about to be released. And he just said this yesterday. He said Grok 3 is going to be released in a live demo tonight at 8 p.m. Pacific time. He's claiming that it's the smartest AI on Earth. He's saying it's going to be smarter than any of the other LLMs. And he's saying that once they surpass these other LLMs, they won't be able to catch up again. And the reason is because Tesla's xAI has the largest supercomputers. This was built on the most supercompute that's out there, and he thinks it's going to grow faster than anyone else. So he said, we'll be honing the product with the team all weekend, so offline until then. This is so important for him that he stopped using X for a couple of days here.
Not really, yeah.
Elon just confirmed that Teslas will be equipped with Grok. So first he said Grok 3 is so based. He explains why, and then this woman asked, "Can I ask Grok while driving in her Tesla?" And he said yes. I'm going to replay a interview he just did last week. He explains to us what we're expecting.
I mean, Grok 3 has very powerful reasoning capabilities. In the tests that we've done thus far, Grok 3 is outperforming anything that's been released that we're aware of. That's a good sign. In fact, at times I think Grok 3 is kind of scary smart. You're like, wow, this thing's smart. It's scary. Grok 3 is scary. It's wow, this thing's it comes up with solutions that you didn't even think were like you wouldn't even anticipate, not obvious solutions. So Grok 3 was trained with the most amount of compute, and I think very efficiently trained. Also notably, Grok 3 was trained on a lot of synthetic data, and then it goes back and forth through the data and tries to achieve logical consistency. So if it's got data that is wrong, it'll actually reflect upon that data that is wrong, that does not concord with reality. So its base reasoning is very good. In fact, even without fine tuning, Grok 3, the base model, is better than Grok 2. So we're really in the final stages of polishing Grok 3. Probably it gets released in about a week or two. So pretty soon. I don't want to be hasty in the release because a lot of the final polish is necessary for a great user experience. In some ways, you can think of it like a house. That last 5% where you finish the drywall and do the painting and the trimming, even though it's not much work, it transforms the house. Yeah. So it's that. Just want to make sure that last 5% is done really well, and it's a week, maybe 2 weeks. I think it'll be very good, and I think this might be. We think it'll be better than anything else, and then maybe this might be the last time that any AI is better than Grok.
And then just quickly here, they also just are discussing $10 billion raise at $75 billion valuation. They were last at valued at $51 billion. So quickly growing, quickly raising money as much as they want. And of course, tonight they're going to do a live demo. What you thinking, Jeff?
Yeah, and I think people wonder where Elon would get capital to do, any one of his endeavors. So look, he just in a year and a half or so, created a company that has a $75 billion valuation. This is really important for Tesla. And I've been posting about this. Elon's responded a couple of times as well. It's similar to the post you have just about the vehicle integration. And what I want to describe for people, I think, is really important. There's no other company that bends the metal to make the vehicle, designed its own AI supercomputer, the actual hardware silicon. Forget about who makes it. Like, that is now somewhat commoditized. There are a couple people that can do it. It's still, there's still high value in making the silicon and then packaging the silicon. There's still high value in it, but somebody's doing that. They get paid for it. It's great. But Tesla designed their own silicon. They do their own software. And so when you own that, when you own the hardware and you own the stack, you own and control everything in terms of the timing. And that timing is from when you say a keyword in your car. I don't even think you'll have to press a button anymore. It should be, if you allow it, it should just be, it should just be listening, and it should just be responsive. But from the point you say a keyword, or maybe you do press a button if you want that latency is going to be so small, because Tesla owns that entire stack end to end, and they're engineering for that entire stack and where the microphones go, and every single in the details about the microphones, the meshes on the mic, like every detail is being engineered for low latency, high performance, and keeping all that in mind. And it's all under one leader. And he's put his expectations out for the team. There is no other example of this available anywhere in the world. There literally is no other example of the same company that bends the metal to make the car, designs and builds their own AI supercomputer, and does the software for it and the hardware. There's no other company. And then now this company is doing the AI brain, the Grok AI brain, and they're bringing the two together. Guess what's going to happen? Elon's going to say, all right, Tesla and XAI, you're going to do a deal. And, in Tesla, you're going to take some form of a license or whatever. And in Grok, there's going to be some sort of two-way license, obviously, because, Grok is going to benefit from being on millions of vehicles as well. XAI is going to benefit from that. And he's going to get his engineers to work together. And that's the thing, when you see the engineers on X and you see how they interact, Elon built this company from scratch, and he's been hiring people in his likeness. And he hires a core of people in his likeness, and then he tells that core of people to hire similar people in that likeness. And when you do is you build a company from the ground up in your likeness, you're going to get, I don't call it superhuman engineering capability, but you're going to get some of the best minds, building this stuff. So I think the Grok Tesla connection is going to be unlike anything else out there. And remember, you have to think of it. I described the performance of it, how I think the performance and the engineering of it will be flawless. I'd even talk about the business model. The business model is all under one CEO, one leader. So he's going to understand the business model. He's going to understand how Grok's going to be able to make, how will Grok, what's the business model for Grok in the vehicle? What's the business model for Tesla for having it in the vehicle? And he's going to understand those, and he's going to maximize margins. He's going to minimize the amount of margin he's going to minimize the amount of call it overhead expenditure and what has to be paid out to each portion of those teams. There's none of that. There's no, I'm going to buy this from you and I want to make money off of doing it. So therefore I'm going to take the core offering. It really costs this to produce, but I'm going to charge you something much higher. You don't get that. You get this, go back to the term vertically integrated stack, and that's going to be powerful. So the business model and the performance, they're really going to be unmatched, because everybody else that tries to put a language model in their vehicle is going to be buying it from somebody else. You heard about BYD and DeepSeek. Well, BYD's got, they're two different companies, right? So BYD's got to do a deal with them, and they've got to buy the solution. They got to pay a margin on top of that solution. And then you've got to do integration under multiple CEOs and multiple priorities. And I just think this is where where Tesla wins. So in the Grok or the XAI Tesla tie-up here, Tesla wins because of performance and because of the business model, and it all being under one CEO.
Yeah, exactly. Perfectly said. It's you can go into another car and you'll be able to ask questions to some LLM and it'll answer to you. But Tesla's going to look at the whole experience and the latency. That's the critical thing, how quickly it reply back to you. Tesla is a software company. And so watch this really quick video here of the experience, in-car experience that they're suggesting will happen in the future.
It's always important for us to keep making our products better and better. We're also constantly trying to bring new functionality and new fun features to all of our customers through over-the-air software updates. And it's just one of many ways that your car keeps getting better and better over time.
I mean, there's so many features already today that software features that are fun, makes the car more fun and experience that others don't do. This is going to blow it wide open. This is not just asking a question over time, right? You'll be able to make it do things for you in the car. Software, of course, the most important one is FSD. Tesla just pushed a large wave
Herbert,
of.
I just want to make a point on that, on a quick point on that video, then we move this. Yeah. There's only one CEO that knows what's possible and can direct the team. The other CEOs have to ask what's possible and then get a response and then try to filter that response and then negotiate with their teams of like, hey, maybe can we figure out how to Tesla do. Elon knows what's possible. He knows things in the, convergence in the future, and he can direct the team and he can move them ahead of like where they're at today. Other CEOs, I mean, just name them off. They have to ask their software teams. They have to ask their architects. Well, you think we could just, and I'm not saying Elon doesn't have to ask questions, but he can put kind of a logical set of goals in front of the team of like, this is what I want to see, and I know it's possible. It may not be possible today, and get his teams to reach out. I think people should cut and paste that out and just understand that when we see videos like this, that there's underlying meaning to that. And you have to understand everybody else building the same kind of product, because there's people out there that say, well, everybody's just going to be able to do it. It's just going to be a commodity. And maybe with time there is, but there's going to be a time element, and there's going to be a market share element, and there's going to be a margin share element. People should understand there's a difference between asking what's possible and directing the team on what to do. There's a big difference.
Yeah. One simple one could be, can these cars have personalities that are different than the others? I'm sure Elon wants that because he's having fun. That's just a small fun thing, but there's so many big things that he'll push the team. I think this is possible. They'll say no. And then they'll like, no, it's possible. And they go and make sure it is. So we got FSD is being pushed now to the largest wave ever. It looks like it's going wide release. And now Tesla, a reminder that they've now switched to one software release that is for both AI4 and AI5 or AI3 cars. So they're both being improved. Hundreds of thousands of vehicles is now getting this, the largest waves of any software update in the last 12 months. This is happening. And then Jordan Kamina says he dropped this video. He thinks it's the first new Model Y that has a FSD, and he took the first video of that. I'll just play it just a little bit.
I have a chance to drive the new Model Y today. It's raining in New York, but it's worth it. They literally just got this car in yesterday. It has 14 miles on it. And then I'm going to do the drive back manually, but this is just a cool little clip of the car driving on FSD 13, brand new Model Y.
Yeah, so it went really, really well. Basically, he's just showing that it's smooth and it's great. So we've got the first version of that. So
no road noise.
Great. Yeah, it's even better than the Model 3 that I got, right? It's like they even found a way to make it even more less. And you know why they're doing this? in-cabin experience. I mean, this is going to become the best place for music, video, entertainment.
Well, think about it. They have to get the noise floor down in the vehicle so that when you do Grok integration, you have the ability to communicate freely. And there's not, the last thing you want in this free flowing kind of AI communication world is, repeat it, or it just, you don't want false responses. You don't want false entries. You want to minimize all error. So I think there's a connection to them making the vehicle more and more soundproof. By the way, this is something that Tesla, I would say, has been behind in versus others, or just under investing. So this is really good. What I noticed in that video is it was just dead silent, better than my Model X.
All right, the next topic here is robots, another space that Tesla is leading. But guess what? Tesla comes out 2 years ago, starts producing these bot demos, and now everybody who's anybody has to be in it. We're going to talk about the news from Meta and Google, and then we've got Apple now coming into it. There's news from Figure and others. So everybody's trying to get into this game. Apple and Meta announced last week that they're now planning to get into humanoid robots. They're joining the Mag 7 names like Tesla, Amazon, and NVIDIA. So here's the current setup here. Atlas is Boston Dynamics. You've got Digit. You got from Agility. Sanctuary is Canada. Figure. And then you got Tesla. Apollo is from Aptronic. And then you got Chinese versions here down here below as well, including Neo from Sweden. So you said the larger Bay Area tech companies like Meta and Apple are years behind and not known for rapid product development cycles, with one exception. That's Tesla. Tesla Optimus kicked off their hardware dev in February 2022, was assisted walking on stage in an MVP in September of the same year. These guys are far behind. So the news here is this is Aptronic, and this is Google's play. So Google has invested along with other investors, $350 million into Aptronic. And so Google has chosen Aptronic to be their play in a humanoid robot space. Then you got Meta. They've announced last week that they're going to do major investments in this space as well. Ex-Cruise CEO Mark Whitten. The Cruise is their version, was a autonomous car company. He's going to be running the new Reality Labs. It's going to be doing this. What's interesting about these guys is they're not saying that they're going to build a bot right away. What they're doing is they're focusing on the AI, the sensors and software, and they want to be built in. They want to partner with Unitree, a Chinese company, and Figure. That's who they're hoping to partner with. And then you got Apple. Apparently, there's a kind of report that came out that Apple has been wanting to get into either humanoid robots and other physical designs, both humanoid and non-humanoid designs. And this is just, this Apple analyst said that this is still in the early stages, mass market product unlikely, and they're prioritizing sensing hardware and software over the physical design. So again, these guys are very much, it's like from a research paper that they did. So it's still very much research. They're still thinking about it, early proof of concepts, but you're going to hear more and more of this because guess what? It's such a massive business, and then they got caught without it and they're all coming in. Well, what's your analysis of all this, Jeff?
Yeah, I think Tesla and investors and people following the company should view this as validation of the space. They should view it as validation of what we've been talking about actually for the past couple of years, which is this is going to be a gigantic available market. And this is to me akin to the last 10 years of EV. In 2015, every other week, there'd be a PowerPoint that comes out, or there'd be some wooden model, where the sheets pulled off on stage, and it's some futuristic looking thing that's going to be an electric vehicle. But then when you looked under the hood or under the vehicle, you have no idea how the battery pack was going to be made, was it going to be profitable, who's making the motor, who's making the whole system, and then could they even make this vehicle profitably? And we had this cycle rolling, and these companies were using this as leverage to get investments into a startup. Think of Lordstown Motors, think of Nikola, think of other companies like that are now in this graveyard of pure EV companies, or legacy companies like some of the Mag 7 that you're hearing say, hey, look, there's going to be trillions of dollars wrapped up in this. Like, we got to get our name out there, and we got to get ourselves attached to this somehow. and and then leave it open like, hey, maybe we'll build the whole thing, but in the beginning, we're going to start by doing XYZ. They're behind. I think when Elon brought the person in a suit dancing on stage, I don't think people reacted quickly enough, and I don't think people understood how serious he was about this. And forget about even if you put Elon's seriousness and his company and his team's capability aside, the space is actually needed. I just think it was such a large undertaking for people to, again, develop the AI brain and then develop the mechanics that are so good that they could replace the things that the most intricate human fingers do, whether it's playing the guitar, the piano, threading a needle, doing things like that. People just thought that they couldn't conceptualize how to do it, so they stayed away from the space, and they kind of grabbed their belly and laughed a bit when they see some of the stuff that Tesla is doing or Elon's doing, or people wanted to make fun of the unveil on AI Day 2 of this clunky thing coming out on stage. But what they didn't take away, and what you and I talked about at the time, was the fact that Tesla did that in about 6 or 7 months of hardware development. And that was actually the takeaway that people missed, and they missed now. And then what Tesla's been doing is updating you with these videos and then putting these bots in various locations to make them more normalized in human life. Oh, there's a bot stain. Oh, there's a bot. And they're trying to normalize it, and they keep updating us via rapid updates and capability via video, and it's real. And these companies are now, I can picture their board meetings. I can picture their C-level exec meetings. When they're looking 1-2 years out in product portfolio, are we going to build a team around this? Are we going to build a business unit around this? We got to get going. Meta launched, this big business around, avatars and kind of, the Reality Labs piece of it. And then they kind of shelved that and said, all right, AR is a thing, but we're not going to do all the metaverse stuff. And, there's been a lot of starts and stops from companies, Apple with the Vision Pro. And you see this very clear vision. It started, with Elon and Humanoids, which is just to increase the production capability and the productivity capability through AI and through mechanics. And that still holds true today. So these companies entering, my summary is it validates the total available market, the TAM of the space. I think it should be very exciting for Tesla. If nobody else was getting in, it was just Tesla and Figure and, some of these Chinese startups. First off, to me alone, there's a lot of validation of the TAM of the space. But now these other Mag 7 entrants, either they're going to build their own or they're going to form a major partnership. To me, this is kind of completing the cycle of this is going to be a gigantic market. And this is what I would leave people with. Nobody has the full end-to-end AI brain, and nobody has the manufacturing capability. Those two combined together in one business under one roof, than Tesla. And when you're not in one business under one roof, what are you doing? You're paying out a margin to somebody. You don't have the same kind of priorities intercompany, and it's a mess from a schedule perspective. It's a mess from a performance perspective, and it can be very difficult. Will end state be Tesla only making humanoids? No. But there could be a winner take most market in terms of margin share, not market share. There's going to be a ton of robots out there. But the question is, what is their capability and what are people willing to pay for it? And I think from a margin share perspective, this is part of the Apple Samsung story of what they've done with mobile. They have the margin share. And this is what I believe could be happening with humanoids and Tesla.
Yeah. Well, first of all, folks who've been watching this channel, watching Jeff, learning from him, he's uniquely positioned. He has experience in high-tech manufacturing, supply chain, how to build products, release, launch products, quality officer, and his experiences in mobile phones. And by the way, these humanoid robots are more akin to the mobile phone manufacturing than they are to cars. You know both, of course. So your knowledge at this point is so critical because now these companies are getting into some of them, many of them won't, outside of the pre-production into an actual product. And how do you manufacture? Here's a figure announcing that their bot is being released to a second major commercial customer. And they decided to build their own factories. And so they've got 3 buildings here that they're about to move in a couple of weeks. These are big buildings, and they're going to try to do it themselves. Meantime, you've got Chinese EVs. The EV companies in China, they're betting big on humanoid robots. They're being promoted and supported by the government. And again, this is a big deal. Meanwhile, here's Tesla hiring 88 job openings for actual production. And here's one example of a Tesla bot job where this person, they're going to hire a production supervisor and is going to be responsible for 45 to 50 production associates. We're talking about big numbers here, and we're talking about production at this point. And this is the table that CERN Basher puts together, tracking every single one of these bots. Tesla is viewed as widely the leader in the space, but you've got now slowly you'll start seeing people saying, hey, I'm deploying bots now. We're no longer just pilots. We're selling them. We're producing. Now the race is who can make the most, so forth. Final words on this, Jeff?
Yeah, the thing could add to this, I think it's a beautiful representation of just the manufacturing capability and the ability to get the scale. And that's what I'm going to be spending a lot of time studying and really understanding, where this is at. This supply chain does not exist for much of this. And I think the development all the way from the rare earth mineral side, all the way to system level assembly is going to be critical. And also the decision of what you do on the inside of your company versus what you partner with. And I think this space is going to be extremely interesting. I think you're going to see, again, a lot of bots out there, but I think you're going to see limitations either in the AI brain or the mechanical, the dexterity and the capability. And the tennis ball thing was a very big thing for me with Tesla and the humanoid bot. And then finally, the business model is going to be under discussed, just like the business model is under discussed with vehicular autonomy. Everybody just talks about, oh, this company's got a couple on the road and the Tesla is not ahead. They're not coupling the performance of the system, the global scale of the system, and the business model together. They're having very just rudimentary discussions, and they're not helping themselves. They're not helping others as they talk about it. The same thing applies to humanoids. I think Tesla's going to get it right on the performance side, the scale side, and the business model side.
Thank you so much, Jeff. This was a very important discussion. We covered some big topics here, energy and bots, and the things that Tesla's working with FSD and what may differentiate them. Follow Jeff on his X account at Jeff Lutz. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.